Welcome to the Exploring Neurodiversity podcast for adults who support neurodivergent children. I'm Adina from Play, Learn, Chat. I'm an autistic AuDHDer, speech therapist, professional educator, speaker. This podcast is recorded on the Aboriginal lands of the Gadigal and Bidjigal people. Hi, Bri.
Hi, Adina. How are you?
I'm very, very excited. You are my first guest in 2026.
Oh my gosh, I'm so honoured.
I know, I'm so excited. I actually said, I'm just calling it now. I said to my husband, I'm making a new friend tomorrow. So I hope that pans out.
No pressure.
Look, we've chatted online, but it's really, this is our first chat, actual chat. So welcome. And now for those who have not met Bri, technically Brianna, but Bri, I see you use that quite a lot.
I do, yes.
So Brianna Thomas is a multiply neurodivergent, including, but not limited to, AuDHD, PDA, and some fun mental health things.
Yes.
A clinical psychologist, co-director of the Psych Hive, an amazing affirming psychology practice in Canberra, Australia. And you have a very on-brand mug, which you showed earlier. Is that intentional, or you just happen to love bees and that's why the theme is there?
We have, if you've been to the Hive, you'll know everything is bee themed. It's gorgeous.
Brilliant. It's so fun.
Yeah.
I love it. Very sticky in the mind.
Yes.
And you're a PhD candidate at La Trobe University studying neuroaffirming autism in younger children, which is brilliant. What an important space to be in. You're a singer, a musician, a wife to Beth, and a dog mum to two fluffy border poodle.
That's the one. Yes.
Love that. I just love the combined, like the portmanteau names of different
I know,
dogs.
they're so much fun.
And an earring maker and collector. Yes. If I didn't know you were AuDHD, a lot of these things are clues how many things you do. Wonderful. And she's also a certified play therapist and loves bringing elements of creativity into everything she does. Her work at the clinic is mostly with neurodivergent young people, building their confidence and identity, which is a lot of what we'll be chatting about today, and doing neurodevelopmental assessments with autism, ADHD, and learning difficulties. And she focuses on making a safe space for LGBTQIA plus community, doing assessments for trans kids seeking puberty blockers and hormone therapy as part of their gender journey. What important work.
Yeah, I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, like who better? I'm sure there's others too. It's important that there's not just you doing this work. But I know we're going to find out today a lot of ideas and supports and ways of thinking about support for divergent kids, gender divergent kids, and where the creativity fits into all of that. Great, weird question sometimes, but how are you? Like this moment, this life, whatever you want to answer.
Yeah, I love that you're asking in a way where you're like, I'm like genuinely interested in your answer, and it's not like a, hi, how are you? I'm good. How are you? I think I'm like doing a little bit of a body scan. I was thinking about this before we jumped on. I think I'm quite regulated. I feel pretty clear in my body. Maybe a little tired because I've been staying up watching the tennis. Yeah, loving the Australian Open at the moment. My mum taught me how the scoring works when I was younger. So because I understand it, I like it. I'm not a big sports person, but it's fun.
I can say that because I don't understand it, I don't like it. I think it's the very opposite for me, but I like that you like it, and that is important.
Oh, thank you.
You're feeling you're quite regulated. That's brilliant.
Yes, yeah, I feel quite regulated, and I've had a few sessions this morning with clients, and I really try and regulate throughout my sessions, so I find them quite calming. Even if big stuff's coming up, I'm like really trying to move my body and breathe, and we're often doing creative things in session, which I find really calming. I wanted to show for anyone who can see me, I made this feather. I decorated. It's like just wild and crazy.
Okay, picture description for those who are listening. I'm seeing, well, you could describe better, but I'm seeing some sequins glued onto a feather.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
It has an eyeball. It has like puffy foam stars. It has a pom-pom. It just a little bit of everything. It has a bell. And I feel like it actually quite well depicts me and my sense of creativity. Like it's chaotic, but colourful.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I did that this morning, and now I feel quite regulated after that.
Well, I love that. And that is something, okay, so audience, people listening, a lot are professionals who are supporting neurodivergent kids, a lot of therapists, a lot of teachers and so on. And I know there's also a lot of parents as well who do listen. And I think for everyone, I'm already getting this takeaway of like this beautiful thing where you're with your clients and you're modeling this for yourself. I'm sure it doesn't happen by accident, and I'm sure it doesn't go unnoticed that you're sharing that process of regulation.
If I don't, how can they? How can they possibly be expected to do what we say if we're not doing it in front of them and really authentically living it out in that moment?
Yes. Yeah, love that. And I feel like we already have a bit of a clue about some of your special interests. So, obviously, like tennis is a bit of an like now in the moment thing.
But that's probably a bit of a ADHD hyperfocus. It comes and goes.
And what's what else pops up for your special interests?
Anything colourful. So I love making earrings. I made these ones. They're all glittery for anyone listening. I've just got these big glittery hoops.
Beautiful.
I love using resin and colour to make earrings. I just love anything that has colour in it. I love art and craft and baking because it's like colour for the mouth. It's yummy.
Are you into polymer clay, which blends both art, craft, and baking? Don't eat it?
Yes, 100%. Don't eat it.
Don't eat it. No, but my kid has I'd like to show it off, but it's still in the oven. She actually was making some polymer clay stuff this morning. She was very busy on that. And there's a big set, like I'm looking at it over there. There's probably 30 colors and I want to get into it. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get so busy on my computer work. How can I make the time? I'm going to make the time because you're sparking already in me. I'm very creative and yet I am very lapsed. I don't make time in my life much for it.
And like little moments are good too. It doesn't have to be a 5-hour Sunday thing. Like just little tiny moments like my feather. It was 3 minutes, but it's a pop of color and it brings so much joy.
What a beautiful reminder. You can just do it quickly. It doesn't have to be a mega project. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Other special interests include like music and I love singing. I've always been a singer. And the other day, actually, I ran a self-expression through music day for 11 autistic kids, or like most of them were autistic. And it was so much fun. We wrote a song together. Made me so happy.
Oh my gosh. Can you say the name of the song? Did it have a name?
We actually didn't name it, but it was about friendship and the ups and downs of friendship.
I love that. That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
And baking, what's the last thing you baked?
Yesterday, I made some banana bread because I had 5 disgusting bananas that I would never, ever touch. So it went into my banana bread and it was fabulous and really delicious.
Yes, that's what the best use of soggy bananas are.
Yeah.
Did you touch it with your fingers?
Look, I had to, and then I had to like do some like shaking it off and breathing and
All right. Sorry for anyone listening who has the same ick. We're kind of sharing that. Like, I don't mind eating bananas, love eating bananas, would rather never touch a banana in my life. Like, but the banana bread, delicious.
Delicious. Yeah.
Good on you. Let's get to you a little bit more, get to know you a bit, and then we'll kind of zoom out and learn a bit about some ideas for how you support kids and how others can take some of that into their lives too. Tell us about your neurodivergence in your life and yourself. Anywhere you want to take that story is completely up to
sure.
you.
So I obviously have been autistic and ADHD my whole life, but it took until I was, in my 30s to realize that. And for others to realize that. And I think one of the main reasons is that I do have the privilege of being quite highly masked, which blessing and a curse. When I can mask, I can get away with things in society and people don't bat an eyelid. But then, of course, I go home and it's exhausting. So people probably wouldn't have realized. And being into things like music and art and craft is pretty sort of standard for a girl in my family. So no one batted an eyelid. I was also growing up in a religious family. So being highly religious, that was part of my special interest. And that was really well accepted in amongst my religious friends. So no one batted an eyelid at any of that and got through into my 30s and then went, why is my operating system so different to other people's? And why such simple things so tricky for me? The executive functioning piece is huge for me. So mornings are really, really hard. Getting up and having to think, what do I need to do next? I never had like a structured routine as a kid, so I didn't develop kind of those skills or strategies or patterns. And so as an adult, it's just been really hard getting up and getting to work and remembering all the things and the self-care pieces. And it's just so hard, it takes so much brain power. Like the knowing is there. I know what I need to do, but the doing is so tricky. So that kind of classic ADHD thing is makes everyday living pretty tricky. I'm lucky I've got a lot of beautiful support. It doesn't mean it's just all better and fine. It's still, an ongoing battle. But my favorite things about being AuDHD would be the hyper focuses and the special interests that come and the zoom of life that you get when they come into the picture. Like when you've got a new interest, it's just like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm so alive. And of course you don't want to go to sleep and then that, you're tired the next day. But the joy that it brings is just my favorite thing.
The highs can be very high, very,
Yeah.
very deep. As you were saying that, I was thinking about around Christmas time, I got Disney Dreamlight Valley on the Nintendo Switch and I was all in. I'm a Disney girl. I was like completely all in. I bought the like mega pack. I was like, I've got every add-on and whatever. And I was so all in for like 3 weeks. And now I'm like, it's waned a bit. And then now I have the, like, I want to back. I want it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's gone forever, but
Yeah, it's funny how they can disappear. They walk out the door and it's like, but I was interested in you a second ago. Where did you go?
it's not so much I miss it, I miss missing it. Or so there's
Right.
something I'll think on that a bit more. But it's phases. And I think try to
Yeah.
like lean into like there's something else that's popping up. And for me, actually, literally right now, it's I get to go back to work in some sort of regularity.
Nice.
School holidays is almost over. And my little one is 2 and her daycare closes for 4 weeks, which is about as long as I've ever heard. But they're wonderful, so it's worth it. But it was a very long December, January, I'll say.
Yes.
And I craved the autistic me was just sitting and waiting for routine to come back.
Yes.
And I really tried to like actively put ADHD me at the front to go, like, come on, this is every day different. This is fun for us. But autistic me was very, very, very tired.
The tug of war is real, isn't it? The way they pull at each other and the one comes to the front and takes over and the other one's like, what about me? And they really tussle in the brain.
Yes. I think what I described there is like a new thought for me, which is the idea of allowing or sort of encouraging one side to kind of come out more, which I'm exploring, but it's a journey. Can I ask, in your neurodivergent self-discovery journey, where did your studies, your psychology studies fit into that? And how did that inform or not inform your process of self-discovery?
Yeah, what a good question. I think I knew that I was quite a complex little being from a younger age. The mental health piece has been there for a long time. And I knew myself as somebody who had ups and downs and sidewayses as part of my mental health picture and my journey there. I knew that first, and that's probably what drew me into psychology and the study there, because I was just really interested in that, understanding it for myself, but for others. As much as I have this autistic sense of I don't like to be perceived, I do love sitting with someone in therapy or with a group of people. There's a script for that, so it makes it easier. I have a job to do. It's just not the same as sitting with a group of strangers and trying to make small talk. They're very different experiences. But I loved the idea of psychology and understanding humans and how humans work. And then it's been really interesting. My work has evolved so much. Like, I'm actually a little bit ashamed. I'm about to admit something here. I'm a bit ashamed to say that when I first started out as a psych, I didn't understand autism so much that I said I would not work with autistic clients. Like, I actually told the practice, can you not send them my way, because I don't get it. At that point, I wasn't identified myself, and they gave us so little training on it at uni that I didn't feel like I could do it justice.
That's the systemic problem. That's not a you thing. I mean, I can't erase the shame that you felt, but it's not objectively the case, because so many people go through allied health training and come out the other side feeling like working with neurodivergent people is this mystical thing, which people need to learn and upskill, but it's not, when this is going to sound weird. I think so much of what I say and what others say when we chat together, it feels such like common sense sometimes. Like, I think it boils down to treating people like valid humans.
Yeah.
But you didn't know that. You didn't have that teaching.
I wish you could have. Can we go back 8 years and you tell me that? Like, I really needed that piece of information that these are just humans. They've got a different operating system and you've got the same one. But I learned over time, and I started to really fall in love with my autistic clients and my little ADHDers and my dyslexic ones and the ones that struggled with learning and all the other facets of neurodivergence as well. And then, of course, discovering for myself that was my brain too. And now it just makes sense that that's all I do. Like, I work with neurodivergence and it makes me so happy.
It's so nice. You've come this journey, this art, and you're here. And it's simple. Your affirming practice and support is only going to grow and grow which is wonderful. And by the way, podcast, we haven't even mentioned that. You have a new podcast.
I just started doing my own podcast. Yeah.
Plug it, and we'll link it in
IRL.
the show notes.
Plug. Or IRL, and it's really focused on that in real life sense. So the first episode, I'm actually getting my wife to interview me because I want it to feel really like homely and having a cup of tea and getting to know us. And then I'll be interviewing other people from there. So I'm so excited.
Brilliant. That's so cool. And yeah, you know, anyone listening here clearly likes podcasts. So go and listen to Bree's podcast. And I think that this is a way I've heard from people who are listeners that this is a way of getting that sort of informal training that fills the gaps. You know, we you, me, and other guests as well, like sharing like a lot of lived experience, you know, clinical experience and affirming practices and ideas. And I am so excited to get into your kind of corner of expertise here. Can you talk about the intersection of neurodivergence and LGBTQI plus identity development in kids? And what should these adults, whether they're professionals or carers, family members, who are supporting neurodivergent LGBTQI plus kids understand? What should adults understand?
I would love to talk about this. I haven't had much of a chance to go into this. It's something that I do frequently. I do these little reports for young trans non-binary people who are seeing an endocrinologist and need support with puberty blockers or accessing hormone therapy. And so a lot of what I do is trying to make the safest space for these young people as I can so that I can get their story and advocate for them. I suppose, where would you start? If you're an adult and you've come this far, I would say, okay, things have changed and something hasn't changed, which is that when you were this kiddo's age, you were also trying to figure yourself out and you were just trying to make sense of yourself, who you are, and the world around you. It feels like kids have changed a lot and there's all this language now. They're saying, I'm demisexual or I'm a demigirl, or, you know, there's all these words that you might not understand, but actually it's the same thing. It is them trying to make sense of themselves and the world around them. So don't be too freaked out. The language might be different, but that's okay. We can learn. We can always ask, oh, what does that mean? Tell me about that. I'm so curious. But that would be the first thing that I would say is don't freak out. It feels like everything's going a lot faster and a lot earlier, but really it's just young people figuring themselves out.
I love the way that you're talking about the language, and obviously the language goes around the culture and the knowledge too, but it popped up in my mind. What did we talk about as kids? Tomboys, you know, that was about, you know, if a girl was into, I'm going to go air quotes, like male interests or a bit more active, we'd say, oh, she's a tomboy. That was it. That's all we had.
Yeah, but we tried to figure out ourselves and the world in other ways. We had other interests and even getting into, drinking and smoking and dating and, young people are designed to figure themselves out. That's what they're trying to do. And it's just that it just evolves and changes over time and the culture changes. So rather than fighting it, roll with it, get curious about it. And it really is okay to say when someone says to you, like when a kiddo comes to you and says, I think I want to go by they, them pronouns. If you don't understand what that means, just say, cool. I love that you're exploring yourself. Tell me about them. Tell me more. Tell me all the things. Asking is so valid, and it's okay if you don't know yet.
When I think about, like, it's easy for me to think about acceptance. Like, it's obvious to me. It's not for everyone. I have to understand that. There are some people, maybe it's parents or maybe it's other people in a kid's life who may not be so easily accepting of various gender identities or sexual identities. And I wonder if this is helpful. This is what I want to say to people. To you, is it useful to say, to reframe and remind people it is not about you, the adult, the child, and their perception and their experience, and your baggage is not the main star of that story?
100%. Yes, good reminder. And that might be challenging for some people to hear, but I think let's get challenged. Like, let us feel like, okay, I need to learn here. This is a moment for me to learn, and I'm going to put my own ego down and just go, okay, what do I need to find out here that I don't know already? It's also not your fault that you don't know it already. You know, we only know what we know because of our experiences and the things that life has presented to us. So no shame Like, you only know what you know, but get curious.
Yes. I love that. Get curious. And there is such a high crossover between neurodivergence and LGBTQI plus
Yes.
identities, right?
Yeah, there really is. So I was speaking to a pediatric endocrinologist recently, and he pretty much said to me, when it comes to our trans young people, we pretty much assume they're autistic until proven that they're not. So there's like, that's the way that it's come across his practice, is that it's such a high crossover. And for young trans people that aren't autistic, I don't, mean to be giving you an identity that's not there, but it's true that the crossover is really, really high. The research around that is mixed. We don't have a beautiful, clean formulation as to why that is, but I think it's something to do with the way autistic young people are so incredible in how they challenge the way society does things and really think for themselves outside the box. I also think that something else that is really happening and prevalent is the way that like autistic young people get told that there's boy and girl, and they're like, okay, well, I feel a certain way, and they're really good at making sense of that for themselves and not just taking the label that is given by society. And they're really good at thinking outside that box and finding what fits for them. And maybe they're more willing to explore those areas, whereas other people might just think, this is what I've been taught.
I think that makes so much sense. And I'm thinking about other ways that we neurodivergent folks express difference, whether it's a choice or not. And I'm going to say this because some of the things I'll say are choices or not. One thing I think about when I was, say, 16 to probably 25, I was very involved in a body modification community. Some of my friends from that world, we were like actively social together. Some of my friends from that world, we're still really, really close, mostly just in our online way, but really close. And almost everyone is neurodivergent. And in these 20 years, almost all of us have found out or explored or uncovered a lot of mental health challenges that for many of us have developed into a diagnosis or an identification. None of this surprises me. We opted for different. I used to have a lot of piercings. I have a lot of tattoos. You're looking at it now, but you can't see it because it's under my t-shirt. My whole chest and shoulder is covered with tattoos.
That's great.
It's not that I hide it. I like my t-shirts that are 15 of the same type. You and I are sitting here with purple and pink hair.
Yes.
These are choices, and I'm saying this is separate to LGBT.
Yes, I get that. Yeah.
Queer identity being, not a choice, but how you express it or how you choose to explore that might be.
Yep.
Different seems to fit us because normative, neuronormative, like you said, the box, the script, the standard, the expected just seems not just boring, but horrific in my
Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you.
There's a
No,
thread.
thank you.
Is there a thread there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I really feel like our young people who are neurodivergent are so much better at going, maybe what I've been taught is just something that I've been taught, and I'm allowed to explore for myself and find my own flavor of different. And so they're just really good at exploring, and I think probably more open to who they are.
I love that for them.
Yeah.
I wish
Totally.
that for little us, but I love that for them.
Yes.
And so what else can adults do when kids are exploring all facets of their identity, often probably at the same time?
Yeah. Yep. So being curious is that first one, and that's really important. It's okay to ask if you don't understand the language. But I would also say, don't dismiss, accidentally invalidate what someone is telling you. And at the same time, I'm going to say an and it is okay to slow the pace to help you understand, and also to give that young person who is so full of life and let's do everything right now some processing time. So if that is comfort to parents and adults, that's a good thing. Like it's okay to slow that pace slightly, not putting up barriers and saying we're never going to do that, but just going, wow, let's sit with that and think about it. I have seen families do things very quickly, and it actually hasn't been the most affirming way to do it. Like, I think take a second and explore together. I think that's the message I'm trying to get across.
That's really interesting. And that goes along with that curiosity, not just how I'm thinking about you, but how you're thinking about you and how we're doing this together.
Yeah. Yeah. Go on that journey together. And if that means just taking a step at a time together, that's what you need to do.
Mm.
And your young person will be thinking 45,000 steps ahead and making space for that at the same time as acknowledging the pace that you need to go. It's a tricky dance, but it must be done.
That's interesting. And I'm wondering, for parents who are going through this, and many people listening are professionals and parents too, but
Yep.
how can they like find affirming providers who can support them? Like who is good to support them? Obviously you and your practice,
Yeah.
you know, along this journey. And how could that look, as in how you would go about supporting the family and the child, for example?
Yeah, it's a really complicated dance, like I said, especially when the parents are not in the same place as the child is because of their own stuff, their own baggage and their own previous lifestyle and beliefs and all that kind of thing. So I would say TransHub is a really good place to go on the internet. So transhub.com is a wonderful website. It's got a specific spot for clinicians, a spot for parents, and a spot for young trans people themselves. So that's a really good place to go for lots of information, and just equipping yourself with information is really powerful. I've got a book. I'm going to link this fabulous workbook for teens who are on a gender journey in the notes. And it's really great, whether you're seeing a therapist who is up on all the lingo or not, bring this book along. You can work on some of the stuff together. We can even work on it with parents, get curious, read the bits together, ask lots of questions. It's got some fun quizzes in there, and it's a really great way to explore gender stuff in a bit more of a structured way.
Brilliant. I will link to that in the show notes as well. So it's awesome. It's so good to have some tools and almost permission, to take the time to explore identities. And do you find that kids' identities shift over time through that exploration process? Is that part of why you say go slow?
I say go slow. I think because of the way I've seen it done when it's been a bit rushed. So when the families go, wow, you identify as that, let's go. And then overnight, a whole social transition has happened. Like they're signing up for the medical transition. It's like there and then happening. And for the young person, seems super supportive, but I think they just need a second to sit with it and see how it feels when their friends are using their pronouns, and see how it feels when they've changed their name on the roll, and sit with and explore those feelings of, when did I start getting this sense that I'm a girl? Or when did I start thinking that I was attracted to boys? Or when did I start thinking that it's not the gender or the sex of the person, it's just this trait of them that attracts me, like all these different facets of gender and sexuality. I think giving someone a second to process, especially together with their support community, is so precious.
It really it makes sense to explore that feeling. I love that way you framed it. So they're trying things out, seeing how it feels as they go through that process.
Yeah.
And people hopefully show them acceptance.
Yeah.
I've just had a couple of extra thoughts. It's popped it into my noggin. That does not even make sense. Anyway, you mentioned about, how does it feel when their name is changed on the school roll, for example?
Mhm.
What have you seen schools do well in terms of being open to explore new identities with kids, especially gender identities, for example? What can schools do well? What have you seen done well?
Great question. I'm glad that popped it into your noggin. So I think one of the things that I see schools doing really well is good communication with the family. So meeting with the family regularly, both the parents, the caregivers, and the young person, and saying, what do you need from us? The young person, the parents might not know, so they might have to think together and think around, okay, bathrooms. How do we do bathrooms in an affirming way for you? What do you need? How do we do roll call in a way that's affirming for you? How do we do this bullying situation in a way that's affirming for you? How can we really support you there? So good communication, being willing to meet frequently and update the plan as you go, and being really flexible in, what, that is not the way that we've done it before, but we're willing to do it now. Really being open to being flexible, I think, is so important. And just because something has been the status quo doesn't mean it's the way we have to go.
That's something I hope that everyone in the universe will take with them, but it's not a given that people will be able to, easily go, well, let's explore a new way. That openness would be really important. I think about my daughter's school, and their principal is fabulous. And I
Mm.
think about the way that he is very, very, very affirming to neurodivergent kids and
Beautiful.
very open to that kind of attitude that you just explained, that what might work for you, here's some ideas. We've not done it exactly this way, but let's be flexible. That
Yep.
I would imagine that he would be a model of that same thing, exploring different gender identities. Toileting bathroom options, very important. I hadn't considered
Yeah.
that specifically in
Yeah.
this space as well. So really, really interesting to think about that. The other thought that popped it into my noggin was about therapy practices.
Yes.
And I, like, a very big part of me is about systems and processes and businesses being run, really in affirming ways that support staff and support clients and customers, etc.
Yep.
I love talking about things like intake forms and making things smooth and streamlined, but also about capturing the right things. So I very much identify as she, her. Those are my pronouns. I'm female. I'm cis female. I'm like, okay, so for me, this is easy. When I fill out a form anywhere and I can just, but I get very, what's the word? Frustrated. That's not even the word I'm looking for. Like, the injustice gets to me when I see a form that deals with the gender drop-down box poorly. The worst to me is when it just says male or female and you have to answer one or the other. What I do see more is some attempt at like male, female, or undisclosed. Is that better?
Right.
And I know it goes beyond just a gender drop-down box, but that's one example, I think, of displaying openness to diversity. What does your practice do well? And I'm sure it goes beyond the drop-down box. In terms of how can you show that you're welcoming to diverse gender identities?
First of all, a lot of trans and non-binary people prefer us not say preferred pronouns because it's not a preference, it is who they are. So get rid of that word preferred off your intake and just ask for their pronouns. You're not trying to catch them out and work out what they were assigned at birth. You just not want to know who they are. And then when you meet them, you can unfold the story. So ask for their pronouns and all the other information that you need. The giving quite a few options in the drop down is good, but then also having an open box for them to tell you a bit about their story so that they're going to feel safe. It's about safety. They need to feel safe that when they walk in this room, you've got enough information that you're not going to do a microaggression or harm them in some way that they've been harmed 40,000 times. So that's really important, is that they can get enough of their story across and then you unfold it together once you meet them.
And I just love that simple prompt to keep open text as an option, because we cannot capture all things. As much as it's nice to have a form that you can sort into like A, B, and other, but that doesn't work. That's the whole point. It doesn't work for gender identity. Thank you. Thank you for that. I think it's the little things that demonstrate the values. And I want to see that everywhere.
Yeah.
I want to head into the world of creativity in a moment, but is there anything else that we haven't touched on specifically around supporting LGBTQI plus kiddos?
I had a couple of little thoughts that I wanted to talk about. So one is just noting that it's a lot of unknown and uncertainty at the same time. And if you're autistic, you know that we absolutely love unknown and uncertain things.
Sarcasm.
Sarcasm alert. So we really struggle with the unknown and with uncertain. So I really want to extend the message that like it's okay to not know. And for the young people, like you want to be giving across this message too of like, what a great period of not knowing and of figuring things out. Let's enter into this period of figuring things out. And whether it's your gender or your sexuality, you don't need to figure it out as fast as you can. It's a journey. And with that, knowing that things might change. And so not saying to a young person, but yesterday you told me you wanted this. Just be humble and roll with the changes because things evolve over time. Your young person is figuring out who they are more and more every day. Create a safe space by checking in often. Be child-led. So you'll have some kiddos that are really hesitant to talk. So maybe for them, offering pieces of your own story. Or I remember when I was in your grade, like Sally, told everyone that she liked girls. And at first it was a bit like, wow, we hadn't heard of that before. But after a while, it was like, that's really cool. Just like tell a bit of your own story and don't take over the space, like leave enough oxygen for your young person too. But that can be really helpful with those kiddos that are a bit more hesitant to talk because they don't know what's okay to talk about. But just, check in often, create that safe space where it's not assumed what they're going to say. You're not assuming who they are and who they need to become. It's just really blank slate. let's discover who you are. Um, and I also wanted to say, like, clarifying the neurodivergence piece is really important, especially that I see in my practice. And I know it was for myself. Like, it's not just for those people who are like, oh, but they've already told us they're non-binary or they're trans, or we've figured out that they're gay or pan or whatever. If you also suspect they're neurodivergent, it's not just another label that's going to complicate things. It's actually that operating system, that lens, and it clarifies things. So definitely go down the path of trying to help the young person figure out their neuroidentity.
That's so important. So many like heckin' useful things to take away and to think about. And we are not done. We are far from done, because I am really intrigued about your creative practice. You demonstrated your feather with, the sequins and the eye and all of that. And I'd love to know, I guess, for you, what creativity does for you. And then we can head into how do you then use that in your therapeutic practice. So actually, I'm curious about your creativity as a kid. Like, what was that like?
It was like, I remember my dad noticing when I was really little that I loved flowers because they were colorful. And so my parents would take me to see lots of flowers, and we'd talk about flowers, and I'd grow flowers.
Do you go to the Floriade every single year?
100% I do.
And I'm in Sydney, and I'm 3 hours from, so Floriade, I'm going to get you to explain in a moment for listeners who don't know, but I am going to go this year. I've just determined it. Okay, your turn. What is it?
Floriade is a flower show in Canberra that happens every September to October throughout the school holidays. I think it runs for a month, from like mid-Sep to mid-Oct. So hundreds of like flower beds, flowers everywhere. And also you go up on the Ferris wheel, you get to the top and you realize there's patterns. There's like secret patterns through all the flower beds. There's like rainbows celebrating pride, and there's like Minecraft patterned flower beds, and it's just incredible. So yes to flowers, yes to Floriade.
Okay, action item for me is we've got a lot of family in Canberra, and we go there, a couple of times a year. We are going to Floriade this year. My girls will be so obsessed, as will I.
Yeah, definitely though, bring your loops. It's busy, it's loud, all the accessibility accommodations that you might need. Think of all those things, but it's so worth it.
Oh, it sounds incredible. So thank you for the reminder. Well, I reminded us of that, but you said flowers and you live in Canberra. So tell me more about you and your creativity as a kid.
Yeah, I think I've always been such a sensory little bean. I have so many sensory preferences, so things that I don't want to be anywhere near, but then so many things that bring me joy through my sensory system. So different touch items, different smells, like I'm a big sensory seeker. And I think that and my creativity are hand in hand, because I feel the world so strongly through my sensory system. And so creativity just makes so much sense when you're exploring and I feel things in my feelings and in my sensory system when I'm being creative. And like visually as well, the colors and then the architecture and all those things that like they really sing to me. So I've always been like that as a kiddo. And I remember, I don't know how they didn't know I was autistic when I was little, because I remember I drew a rainbow in every border of every piece of paper that I ever had. So like
you got them in the correct color order always.
Always.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, should we check? What's your correct color order?
Well, honestly, it doesn't have to start like it's the main 6 that you get like in pens and so on. So we've got pink, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. I'm okay starting at any point, but they have to be next to the right colors.
Yeah. Like I feel like it's a little bit it's like wrong to get it wrong, it's wrong. It doesn't feel right.
But I will say I'm very accepting. If somebody else has a different opinion, you can do that, but I don't want to see it too much because it literally upsets my eye.
It hurts, doesn't it? It hurts. And I would say like almost every autistic girl or young adult will come into my room and order something into rainbow order. Like I don't know why, but it's something that we do. It should be in the DSM. Like it's just like this way of ordering the world into colors that make sense. It's beautiful.
It's very calming and regulating. And I guess to extrapolate that out, it's whatever brings you joy. But for us and for many of us, it is, colors looking in the correct order. It's very pleasing. It really is. It's a thing, but it is part of that. Yeah. Seeking order and so on. I love that. How did you go? And I think this is a real AuDHD pull. How did you go, or do you go now when you are creating and you have a vision in mind and you're not able to, or you haven't in that moment been able to create what your mind wanted?
Such a great question.
kind of creative perfectionism I know many of us, I'm putting my hand up, struggle with.
Yep. I think my ADHD sense kind of takes over when I'm creating. Like the autistic operating system likes order and routine and for things to follow a certain path, but the ADHD chaos is loud, and I just love a bit of chaos, colorful chaos, except actually thinking this out loud, there is a correct way to be colorfully chaotic. So yeah, that is definitely a tussle, but I definitely notice it happening. I'm trying to think for other like creative perfectionists. I think the thing is you've just got to start. Do not let it be such a block that you don't start. That's just so sad. Please start and see where it goes, and just hold so much love and self-compassion for, okay, this isn't turning out what my brain told me it was going to be, but I'm in the practice of creating, and I'm allowed to just create, you know?
And I think that word practice is being in the practice, but also the act of practicing the imperfectitude. Is that a
Yes.
word? Let's roll with it.
Let's roll with it.
There's a book that is brilliant. I don't know if you know it. It's called Beautiful Oops.
Oh, I've heard
know
the
it?
phrase, but I didn't know it was a book.
It is. It's brilliant. And I will link it in the show notes. And it really talks about finding the opportunity in the oopses, in the mistakes and the
Yeah.
torn pages and the stains and the things like that.
Yep.
And it's a very creative book in itself. So
Yeah.
it definitely helps me. It's like a social story to me. And for how I talk about it with other kids, and to kind of unravel that, oh, my picture's not exactly how I wanted, but hey, there's a beautiful oops here.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've latched onto it because it's been one of the biggest helps for me to push through that, or work on that.
Yeah. And going back to that word practice, like you're practicing. It's fine. Creativity is a practice, and you're practicing.
Yeah, or a play even.
Yeah, you're playing. You're playing.
And so how then does that enjoyment and experience and love for creativity, how do you bring that into your therapeutic process, and what can other we'll say therapists, just to narrow the answer slightly, but I'm sure anyone will take something from it. What can other therapists do to bring into their practice with kids?
I think there's a few things to think about. One is like being flexible and allowing yourself to think outside of the box. So like CBT shouldn't just look like worksheets. It should look like, I'm going to hold up something again, but I'll describe it. It should look like little rocks covered in little eyes and mouths and creative, colorful hair with shells all over it. Like it should look like color and shapes and texture and clay and paint. And you do have to work within your window of tolerance. So if I know some of us here at the Psychive don't like sand and slime, I'm pointing in the direction of my friend Jade's office, because she is like no to those things, but she does so much amazing creativity. She does D&D with a lot of clients and creates these amazing worlds. But I know for me, I like the messy stuff, and that's okay in my nervous system. So figuring out what the boundaries are of your nervous system and what materials you're happy to work with, thinking really flexibly, how can I bring color and creativity into this, especially working with kids? Like, it just should not be talking in worksheets all the time. It doesn't work. It doesn't land in their body.
Yes.
It needs to land to create change. So, thinking outside the box of what can happen, getting a few materials, going to Spotlight and just buying a few things. I've got like a tub of creative things, and it's just always sitting in the room where the kids sit. And if that's where they're led that day, that's where they're led. And if we have like an overarching theme of where we need to go, like starting school this week or whatever it is, we blend it all together, and we're talking and we're making, and it works together. But I think, being really flexible within yourself.
Yeah, that's so cool. And being well stocked up on the miscellaneous. And I think I have some ideas, but I want to hear yours. What do you think it is about being in that co-creative, lower pressure space that really helps some of those processing and discussions with these kids?
Parallel play is so powerful. So taking away the pressure to sit and look at each other, the pressure for eye contact is gone. All you have to do is just be together and be next to each other, co-creating, and your nervous system is regulating their nervous system, and they feel held and safe and also allowed to create. So the possibilities are growing, and they're thinking outside the box, and it's just incredible. I
think safety is like, I love all that you said, but if I've got to pick out one, it's that creating that safety, that space of, I am here with you alongside you doing, not dictating. but sharing. What a beautiful idea to frame that. Thank you so much. You're making me think about the
That's
time that I have not spent parallel playing and doing craft with my kid.
Yeah. Throw
And
yourself into it.
it
More
doesn't have
parallel
to be
play.
hours, like you said.
Yep.
It's I'm
Yep.
literally looking at the colors of polymer clay sitting there. She was well into it. And I'm going, oh, I wish I could. Hang on, I'm the boss here. You're my only thing on my person. You're my only person on my calendar today. I'm going to create. You have inspired me directly. Thank you.
Oh, that's exciting.
Thank you. Sorry, that's a very selfish moment. What have I taken from our chat? Bree, is there anything else that you wanted to share with these grown-ups who are supporting diverse neurodivergent kiddos that we haven't covered, or something you want to just remind us of?
Yeah, I think just be creative in everything you do. And if you are someone who says, oh, but I'm not creative, well, actually you are, because you made a sandwich today and that sandwich didn't exist and then it did exist. So you created something. And even if you were following a scaffold, that's the same as like paint by numbers. It's like paint by numbers for sandwiches. You did it.
Yes. Nice.
Yeah.
And so that's a nice reminder to that, almost permission. Do the paint by numbers. Do that. Whatever way actually lets you just play and explore.
Yeah, play. What is your version of play? If it's screens, how can you use that with elements of creativity? How can you share that with your kid or with kids that you work with in a way where you're co-playing, co-creating together? Like use special interests of the young person, go on that journey with them, be so present, be so there, and enjoy and regulate as you go. You know, the first thing you asked me is how am I going? And I said, I've been regulating this morning in my sessions. So that's a big encouragement, is like create, regulate as you go, and just like live it, have it as like a way of life.
I love it. I love it. And I think about that sandwiches are creative. I think for me, podcasting and podcast discussions, interviews, chats, we're creating something here. And that lights me up. I think I'm very like purpose driven. So I'm like, well, what is the purpose of this chat? Like I said, hopefully to acquire a new friend. We'll determine that in a moment. But also, you know, I know that because I hear the feedback, I always love hearing more feedback if anyone wants to share. But, you know, I hear that people listening to these conversations take a lot out of it, and they take it to their kids and their practices. And that's delightful, knowing, you know, that there's a result. Maybe that's a very autistic version of me that's like, well, what is the purpose of creating?
But it's also
anything as a creative process.
Yeah. It's also capitalism. We've been a little bit stolen by this idea that everything has to be productive.
Correct.
So I think name that, notice that, and let yourself just play.
Yes. Yes. And that's true. So what I need to do, honestly, is bring more into my life, and I'm hoping someone else is taking this too, that is not necessarily purposeful creativity. It's just the play for the play sake.
Yeah. Play for play is purposeful. So you are doing it.
Still a mission. I'm going to tick it off. I'm going to let you know when I've done the job.
Yes. I love it.
Going to be a structure to the freedom. It's very interesting to explore that. That's a whole other chat. Great. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of your thoughts and perspective and modeling brilliant ideas. And you've sparked me, and I know there'll be others as well. So thank you.
Thanks for having me. It's been a joy, and what a great opportunity to talk about such beautiful and important things. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. And anyone listening, please share feedback and I'll pass it on to Bree. And I appreciate everyone here taking these moments to just reflect and change and undo the box a little bit.
Yeah, love it.
Thank you for being open to learning and unlearning, and to listening to the perspectives and experiences of neurodivergent folks. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with a friend, share a screenshot on Instagram, pop a 5-star rating and a review in your favorite app, and join me on Instagram and Facebook. I'm at play.learn.chat. Have a beautiful day.